Served to you fresh. We present to you local and international newspaper headlines for the day with in-depth analysis from seasoned professionals. Start your day the right way on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Nigeria Info.
All right, it's 99.3 Nigeria Info. Can I say good morning again in case you're just joining? You missed out on a full 1.5 hours of the show. Where have you been? Let's welcome you, however, because we're nice people. The show starts at 6 a.m. every day, and this segment is called the Frontpages. We'll look at stories across the dailies today. And we do have some good news in the country this morning. We'll start with that bright news. But head over now to Facebook, if you will, and YouTube, Nigeria Info 99.3. We're streaming live right now, so you can watch us. And I'm joined by Gbolahan Olojede this morning. Gbolahan, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Wemimo.
Good morning. I'm Wemimo Adewuni. You heard the name, and we start the show right now. Amidst global chaos, Nigeria's 2019 GDP stands tall at 2.27%. Can I give a shekere? The Nation newspaper, Nigeria's economy records 2.27% annual growth. Good news. The Guardian new growth numbers stir controversy. What are we arguing over again? Economists disagree as NBS figures beats IMF forecast. Okay, we have an economist in the studio, so he'll tell us what his opinion is. Also, it's on the Nigerian pilots, and there's a breakdown here of the Nigerian economy. Grew by 2.2% in fourth quarter of 2019, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. There's a breakdown of the figures on the front page here. You might be interested in it. Go check it out. Nigeria. I'm not sure if I should throw this into the good news mix. Okay. Nigeria depreciates to 365.
You mean Naira?
Naira, yeah. In the I&E window. On the Punch newspaper, manufacturing declines as 2.27% GDP growth surpasses IMF projection. Some good news this morning.
Yeah, the growth is good news. Where is above all the bookmakers' predictions. IMF, Bloomberg, everybody's prediction. We beat all those predictions hands down. But then there are challenges there and there. Because when you look back at the years leading up to 2015, when we had a boom in the oil sector, Nigeria actually grew in the 6%, 6.5% range. But the problem with our growth has been the non-inclusiveness of the growth. So when the big numbers grow, but the ordinary citizen does not feel the impact of that growth. That is where the disconnect is. So the things we need to do are those things that will hasten should I call it the drill down? So it's not just residing at the big numbers level, but the ordinary citizen on the road also have a feel that there has been a growth in this economy. Yeah, those are the things we need to work more on.
So can we just look back? How did we achieve this? What did we do? Can we learn? Were there specific things we did that we can then focus on doing again and again? Because I don't mind seeing this cherry news every time.
Well, there has been a few things in place. When you look at where the growth also happened, you had the services leading the growth, followed by agriculture. For services, it's obvious. It's as if their own growth has been totally disconnected from the growth of the rest of the economy. If you look in the papers, I think that was yesterday or over the weekend, you have one of the foremost banks declare their result for 2019, and it was over 200 billion in profit, crossing some new marks and doing a little bit over what they even did last year. So if that is going to be the trend for the financial services, for example, then it is obvious that wide services is leading the growth that we spoke about. Then you also have agriculture. In a way, I think agriculture is expected to have grown. So there should be no surprises about that.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a lot of investment by the government in agriculture and production of quite a number of those of our items. Look at rice, for example. It's been growing. We might not be quite there, but over the last decade, we've literally doubled the production of rice in this country.
We have had some growth.
Some growth,
yes.
Even when the borders were closed, there were people who made a lot of money from border closure, and that is the reality.
There are people who are begging for that border.
They want it
remain closed.
Exactly,
because it's good business for them.
It's good business for them.
So
if you're doing local rice, if you're doing poultry, if you're doing the agricultural space grew, and that is also expected. There has been a few. If you look at the Nisral Microfinance Bank, which is meant to provide small loans to small people across the nation, that is one of those things that is meant to help us devolve the growth, the high numbers to the grassroots. This particular agency is not even funded by the government. Right now, I think it is the Bankers Committee's contribution to the share capital that it is still using. So when people like the banks now make the money, and via the Bankers Committee, they are able to make money available to that kind of a microfinance bank, who in turn will use it to create micro loans for people at the bottom of the ladder. Then we begin to devolve down this kind of growth into that space. And the more of those people we can get into economic performance, the better for all of us.
Well, you heard it. That's a serious and simple breakdown of this growth. Let's move it up and see this next story. Miyetti Allah, others back Amotekun. By the way, Nigerians, did you go for the public hearing yesterday? Did you go? I'm sure you did not. So don't complain. There was a public hearing.
People were there.
Yeah, the people there are human beings, but I mean, what was the turnout? Usually the people who would fill those places, I mean, we had in the news. Journalists, and then people in those political parties, the APC, the PDP. But the average Nigerian, did you show up? There was a public hearing. You must learn and cultivate the habit of showing up for public hearings and making your voice heard. Okay, Miyetti Allah, others back, and Motekun demand inclusion. Outfit not for ethnic persecution, says Akeredolu. Recruits only locals. Yoruba Congress advises. Recruit only locals. Amotekun not for Yoruba freedom, says Falaye. We can curb crime without using arms. Says Agbekoya. Hey, them jazz level, huh? Okay. The story is also here on other dailies today. It's on the Guardian newspaper. At public hearings, Yoruba leaders, okay, Amotekun, it has come to stay, says Akeredolu. Falaye 6 prosecutory power. Can they prosecute? Tinubu not against Amotekun, quote. Miyetti Allah back security agent. On the front page also of The Nation, Miyetti Allah, OPC, CAN, Islamic group, others back Amotekun. Should have power to prosecute, says Falaye. Should they?
I'm not sure what we seek to achieve by the power to prosecute, really. If those criminals are, because they're already institutions.
Yeah, I mean, why not just pass them
pass it on to them and move on and focus on the primary responsibilities rather than prosecuting. The most important part of the story for me was the fact that one of the organizations that have strongly expressed fears about Amotekun is said to have accepted Amotekun, and that is.
But they're asking that their members should be included in Amotekun.
Oh well,
I've seen responses on social media like, "Hey, you guys all cross the line."
Those are also a bit challenging in certain respect, but I think largely is the local thing for the local people who are supposed to know their local environment and be able to deal with. But where you have settlement of headers who have been in certain part of the Southwest for over 300 years, what do you call those people?
And they're locals.
Are they locals?
And
Are they not locals?
Some of them were born in those areas.
Some of them, their Yoruba is thicker and deeper
than your own.
So
There seems to be some distrust, though, from these locals. Once you mention Mieti Allah, the comments I've seen online has been, but you guys are the headers killing the farmers. Why do you want to? Well, of course, not all of them are killer heads.
But you see, not all of these things will also play out exactly as have been reported in the media. Some things don't even have to be told. Even in terms of recruitment. I can choose to do a recruitment in which the recruitment policy and the recruitment practice will be totally different.
Recruitment policy will be different. I'm looking at that because we had a lawmaker here from Ondo State last week when the Amotekun bill was passed there. From Ekiti State, rather. And we were looking at the draft bill together, and the recruitment process was just to say you need to apply. It didn't say who you could be. You just need to apply and then get a letter from either the DPO in your area or your traditional ruler affirming that you're a good person of good behavior. Pretty much, that's it.
That's a policy. What will happen in practice?
You've told us what to watch out for.
Yeah.
Let's see this. Buhari meets service chiefs. There was an empty seat during the meeting yesterday. People didn't fail to point it out. I mean, you guys and VAR eyes, you had to just screen and
But they
look.
were looking for it anyway.
They were looking for. I mean, I had to say, oh yeah, there's a chair. So whose chair was that? Buhari made service chiefs, appoints NSA co-chair of Humanitarian Coordination Committee in his absence, though. On the Vanguard, also insecurity. Buhari's service chiefs, Quadry, meet in Abuja as CDS cautions against rivalry in military. On the front page of The Guardian, NSA absent as service chiefs meet Buhari and Quadry. CDS urges security agencies to synergize on nation security. President Okay's Committee on Humanitarian Action. It's also on The Punch, The Nation, The Daily Independent, Daily Trust, and The Nigerian Pilot. NSA Mongunu absent as Buhari meets service chiefs.
We have to be very careful when it comes to security matters. Why did 9/11 happen? 9/11 happened not because the information concerning 9/11 were not with the various security agencies before it happened. It was because there was disarray, there was disconnect, and people were not talking, they were not on the same plate. Because they were not talking, they were not on the same plate, they missed it, and it happened to America.
All the different agencies wanted to be the champions. So there wasn't synergy.
Exactly. So that is why we have to be very careful about how we approach this. The NSA naturally is a link. It's like an anchor point for security information. They are from the Navy or the Army or every security architecture. And based on his knowledge from that, he's able to advise the president.
So how come the president has a meeting on security?
And that gentleman is not there.
And it's not there.
It's a cause for concern, it's a cause for worry. It also goes to say, look, some things are better handled more practically. If you don't want the gentleman, fire him, ask him to go.
Right.
Why
play ball?
What's on the ball? How can I have that kind of a responsibility? And meetings are happening. And the chief of staff is said to have been calling meetings without this gentleman in attendance.
Security meetings.
Security meetings with the security chiefs. And the person
who
is supposed to anchor and put all this together and advise the president is missing.
Let's talk about this new committee. Excuse me, we seem to love committees in Nigeria. There's another committee being set up now on humanitarian action to be headed by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. My first thought when I looked at the breakdown of the work of that committee is this is practically the job of the ministry. So why do you need another committee so they're supposed to draft policies about, and this should be included in this committee. You'd have some security chiefs, some governors, some heads. But isn't that why we had a ministry on humanitarian affairs?
We have a whole
that we need
ministry
a committee
fully staffed. And if the ministry needs to, because sometimes you need some cross-functional input, then call those people
Invite
from
them.
wherever they are.
Right.
And they'll come around and give you the necessary support that you require. We just love committees, and another committee may come to review the work of this particular committee. At the end of the day, there is one committee upon another committee all over the whole place, and the real decisions that are to be taken are not being taken in good time.
So we have a whole ministry fully funded with people employed.
Uh-huh.
Remember we talked about this during the when the ministers were being selected. I'm like, a full committee for humanitarian affairs. Okay, so we have it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a committee. How do they work together, or do they work separately? I just we like committees, guys. We just it appears to make us feel calm.
It just slows down the entire decision process.
Absolutely.
As simple as that.
Absolutely.
And we're at that time where we don't need all those slowdown. A lot of decisions have to be taken fast.
What I expect from the committee is to, like you said, reach out to these. We don't need them on a committee. We don't even know for how many months would this committee sit. How long would it be? Or is it forever?
Terms of reference.
Terms of reference are there.
They will provide budget for them.
Of course, they will provide budget for them.
It's all a waste of time.
Waste of time.
Bureaucracy.
Okay, let's see our next story here. Assets Declaration Court strikes out case against Quadry on the Daily Sun newspaper. This story is also here. It's good news for Quadry. It's on the Daily Independent. Asset Declaration Court dismisses case against Quadry. Okay, if you don't know the detail, let me run you through it from the Daily Sun. It's on page 4, in case you've not been following that story. Here we go. Please, let me find you. I don't like when I'm told to go to a page. And
because sometimes you get to that page and you're trying to find the story. Seems to have disappeared, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, we can still talk about asset declaration issues. Apparently, there has not been much success about asking public officials to declare their asset publicly. It appears that the law on which the people who have been asking them to do it are relying on is not working.
It's not strong enough.
It's not strong enough.
Yeah.
Yes. So the public officers, whether you are looking at the president, I know there have been all sort of, asking the president, asking the vice president, asking this is the senator guy at the same time. So that there's a problem with that law, and I don't think we are ever going to be able to get any of these public officials to publicly declare their asset under that law the way it is right now.
So who's going to change it?
If not, we've not succeeded thus far. If we believe it is important, then we change the law.
Who's going to change it? The same lawmakers you want?
The same lawmakers.
So how do we make... Here's the problem. You want these lawmakers to declare their assets, including the president. You want them to make a law that isn't particularly nice, looking it from their angle. And you think they'll be excited about doing it?
I'm not sure they'll be excited about it.
So how do we make them do it?
I believe because there are several, several issues in that same space. You want them to review their salary downwards. You want them to do this and all of that. This system of government was borrowed from somewhere. Mm-hmm. There must be a way that those people in those climes have been able to move past issues like this. Those are the things we need to find out and see how we can apply them here.
I'm not going to keep my fingers crossed on that one.
We didn't start this process. We didn't start the system. We copied it.
I really won't hold my breath. I wouldn't. Well, the 2019 elections might have gone, but the talk about it is not over. The PDP is heading back to the Supreme Court. You're wondering what they're there to do. 2019 presidential election latest. PDP returns to Supreme Court over Buhari's victory. 6 review of judgment, including Kano, Katsina, Kaduna, Ogungiver. APC dismisses move as a joke. That's from the Daily Sun. Excuse me. Daily Independent. PDP asks Supreme Court to review judgment on presidential poll. Wants it to review rulings on Kano, Oshun, Katsina, Kaduna poll. It's also here. Bayelsa governorship election. Supreme Court to hear APC's application for review tomorrow. I mean, it's just everywhere.
Well, when all these reviews started, the first thing that came to my mind is we will end up with more problems with these reviews than anything we seek to achieve with the review, look at it from this way, from this point. If you have the Supreme Court reviewing 6 cases, for example, and say, oh, I made a mistake in these 6 cases, therefore this is the way I ought to go. What does it do to the Supreme Court itself? It rubbishes the Supreme Court.
But isn't it better if a mistake was made and it's corrected than leave the mistake on the table because we don't want the Supreme Court to look bad?
Unfortunately, the problem it will create will be bigger. And here is it. The Supreme Court is said to be supreme not because it is infallible. So there is an infallibility assumption with the Supreme Court. But it is infallible because it is supreme.
And it's final.
And final. The problem we're having now is it started with one. It was Imo. From Imo, we went to Bayelsa. There is now presidency. There is Castina. There is Oshun. Where will it draw the line? Where will it stop?
So when the PDP is done, the APC too will start.
We'll start their own.
And then we keep reviewing. But isn't there room for such a review? Frankly.
There is room for the review. The conditions for those reviews have been stated. And that is probably what we're exploiting right now. But I don't see anything coming out of those reviews because the problem, the change will cause will be more than what we seek to cure.
The election.
It will be total chaos all over the whole place.
The election was last year.
And it will totally rubbish. That will not be the end of it. When the initial changes were made, more requests will come. Mm-hmm. And that is what the Supreme Court will be busy with doing.
Almost forever till the next election.
I am not sure we want to go in that direction.
How then do we ensure that the Supreme Court gives...
You see, the heart of the problem is that we are seeking election win in the court. Election winning should be done at the polls. That is the main problem. So we need to go back to our electoral law and fix the problem so that people stop winning elections in the court. If you look at some of the elections that have been won in the court, for a number of them, it appears as if it wasn't even the people that the person that the people voted for that eventually became the governor. So we have to stop winning elections in the court. Elections should be won at the polls. Let's fix our electoral law and make it possible to win elections at the polls.
Okay, I'm looking at messages on WhatsApp right now. I'm so sorry. I see many of you sent messages during the chit chat. I was pretty steaming off my nose during the chit chat, just annoyed. And I'm wondering why this story, I've not seen it anywhere on the front page. The Shagamu story, the footballer who was killed, and some protesters were also killed yesterday. I mean, I can't wrap my head around it.
Fathom it. Why are live bullets involved in quelling protests? Why?
I can't understand it.
And this is a first-time protest. It's not as if, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
What's even wrong with people protesting?
This. People should be able to protest, but the use of live bullets?
I mean, you look at protesters, you shoot at them. Okay. So I see lots of your comments on that conversation on WhatsApp. I can't go back to it right now, but there's one here that jumps out at me. I'd like you to please send me a personal message. You didn't drop your name here, but you mentioned that a friend of yours, a journalist, was killed by some policemen in Utako district in Abuja. The police claimed that he fell and hit his head, but the autopsy showed that the police actually shot him, and that case is being covered up. Please send me a message if you can. Okay, let me see. Let's come back to stories on the front pages. Good day, Sarah and Ma. I still want the recruitment to involve all the locals, just in case they catch people from other languages so that they can translate the languages for the security operatives.
Language is not a problem.
What from LFS?
Leave that one.
As from Uche Sky. Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria Info. Mieti Allah is making me laugh in Hausa language. Here's a secret. Amotekun is made to put infiltrators, in this case, headsmen, bandits, and any other criminal element in whatever disguise in the West to check. And now they wish to be a part of it. Says it's funny indeed. Olatunbosun there. Kasmi Okoligwe says, good morning, Wemimo. Please, what is the outcome of the constitutional review by the Nigerian senator? It's still ongoing. It's not over yet. Yeah. You should be following up with it,
They're
please.
working on it.
Yeah. Aurora from Mayabo, when your ideology does not correspond with that of the Buhari and his gang, you get missing in your support seats. I think it's talking about Monguni. Igwe Victor, asset declaration. It's only the persecuted that were reminded of declaring their asset, but those who preach against corruption and use it to clench a power can never do public declaration of assets. Thank you all. Twitter is also there. Abdullahi Yafi says it's only in Nigeria we set up different committees to plan to review, implement reports made by another committee. It's really worrisome. Just however, good for our GDP to grow beyond IMF prediction, but manufacturing has declined. Facebook, and I take one. Igwe Victor says it's rather an insult to say that Mieti Allah people want to join the newly formed Amoteco. It says Osas, Gbolahan, the only way the Supreme Court can redeem itself is to review its bad decision and not otherwise. Interestingly, if you're on the other side of the table, the decision will be bad. But for those that won, the decision will be good.
That's how it is.
For how long do we keep going
on ding dong all over the whole place?
That's it. When we return from this break, Adewuni Galale joins me live in the studio as a presidential spokesperson in charge of public affairs for the president, and is here to address questions on infrastructure. I wish I could hold Gbolahan down a bit. I'll try. We're talking infrastructure. So bring all your questions on the table. Infrastructural deficit. What's the government doing? He's here to highlight what the presidency has been doing across Nigeria on this just after this break. I'm Wemimo Adewuni. Gbolahan, thank you for coming in.
It's good to have been here. Thank you.